Yo, y'all know what it is, man. Your host with the most, man. Phocuzradio. How you doing out there on this wonderful Saturday? Feeling so good in the den. Tell a friend right now. Not now, but right now. Download this free app, man. I'm giving it to y'all for free. Download the free app, Hustle Firm Radio. We are in the building. I want to say thanks to everybody that tunes in each and every Saturday, to all my live feeds, IG. I'm on Twitter right now, and I'm doing something different tonight. I'm on Twitter, y'all, going live. So all my Twitter fingers out there, type in @Phocuzradio, man, and you see me looking so good tonight in the booth. Y'all already know what it is, man, alongside my two co-hosts, man. I got two first ladies of Phocuzradio, so I'm special. Y'all already know what it is, man. What's happening, Black Rose?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Focus? What's up, world? What's up? Hey, happy Saturday, y'all. Hey, we got a bomb show for y'all tonight. I'm just excited. Yeah. Okay.
Hat show.
Yes.
We always got a hat show, but
yeah.
Every week it get hotter. So this is the hottest. So next week, what we're going to do next week. We might see, we dig up Michael Jackson, bring Michael Jackson. We do something real big. Person them, bring them back.
Yes, indeed.
And alongside my other co-host, man, I can't leave her out at all. Mrs. Angela Taylor.
How are you today, sir?
Man, I'm fantastic. I'm feeling good. Just fantastic.
Yes, good. Indeed.
The vibes.
I am astonishingly awesome and flat out crank that Angela also Brooks is on her way here.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Especially yesterday, y'all, man. U.S. State's Attorney, PG County.
Yes.
Angela also Brooks, and also running for county executive.
Yes.
Behind Rashawn Baker, 2019.
Yes.
So I got all the ladies. I'm the man tonight. I got all the first ladies in this building tonight with me. So, like I say, y'all, special guest, man, Q&A, Angela also Brooks. Make sure you call in. Stop asking me these questions on Facebook Live.
Yes.
Okay.
Call in and ask
Stay out of my inbox.
Tell her what?
Stay out of my inbox, okay? Because I,
Right.
I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to get us, I want to have some commissioners, some ANC commissioners for Maryland. Like, we don't have that. What y'all think?
And we also need, I think, some community policing here as well.
Yeah.
That's one of the questions I would have from Ms. Also Brooks.
Yeah, I think that.
Policing.
Yeah.
And more commissioners.
More commissioners. Like,
I
want commissioners in every.
You want the commissioners in the booth.
I want them in the booth and in the county. But I'm thinking we should do something like they do in D.C. They have ANC commissioners for each ward. You know what I'm saying? We got all these mayors. Okay, we got all these different cities.
Well, we got council people too. And to my mind, I thought that was the parity there.
But I think what we need like people in the community that the people of the community can come to.
Okay, I get that.
And we can go as the people of the community. We can go to them, and they can go to all of our representatives and voice our opinions.
Yeah,
you know, they have that in D.C. I think that would be a good idea for Prince George's County.
Exactly.
You know, I really do. What y'all think?
What they think?
What y'all think?
Facebook Live right now.
Yes.
Y'all Facebook Live. Rose Brown is Facebook Live.
Yes.
Mrs. Angela Taylor is Facebook Live.
Absolutely.
So definitely log on to those pages, man, right now. Train of thought. I had lost one minute. You were talking about the commissioners and everything. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I want Mrs. Angela Also Brooks to break it down so people can know, because like you said, in our county, in PG County, it's mayors for each county.
Yes.
It's a lot of officials
for each city.
It really is
for each city.
For each city, I mean, right? For each city. So it is a lot of officials. But people need to know how to reach out.
Exactly.
So that's great.
We need those community.
We
need those community leaders.
Right.
You know, in each community, we have a lot of sectors in Prince George's County. So we need community leaders.
Right.
You know, where you can come knock on Miss Bush door or whoever. Right. You know, and Miss Bush go to Anthony Brown, also Brooks that's coming in here today. You know, and voice our opinions.
Right.
You know, we need that.
We can still do that. We have that accessibility. We're just not using it.
Yeah, but I think that's why we need a leader. That's why we need a leader.
It takes strong people to reach the people.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? That's what we do right here on Focus Radio. It's all about connecting people. And that's what I was talking about earlier. That's what makes Focus Radio different, because we connect with the people. So it takes strong people to reach the people.
Yes, it does.
You know, so people gotta, like Mrs. Taylor said, people got to reach out. Also, people got to reach out. So we're going to provide some information for you today, so you can reach out. That's
but you know
really
what?
Important to listen to Focus Radio.
Since you have brought this Focus Radio all about, and we have been, activists and advocates. You know, we have been getting a lot of outpour.
Yeah.
You know, from the constituents. You know what I'm saying? We have already been getting them.
Right.
So, you know, they already know that, we have a voice. You know, so they rely on us already. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, I just think that we just need a lot of leadership. A lot of leadership, to turn this whole thing around. Just
like I said, I want to piggyback off of last week. With A21 segment, good leaders are great listeners. I've been posting them and just tell week.
Yes, indeed.
And, they are. Yeah, you gotta be a great listener on all different type of levels. We have those different listeners. So to be a great leader, you gotta be a great listener, right? You gotta know what the people want, so you can know how to reach the people. You gotta listen to them.
Yeah, and a lot of times people confuse hearing with listening.
Yes.
Listening is a skill that you have to develop. If somebody's talking to you and you can't repeat back to them what they say for some degree of clarity, you're not listening. You got to hone up your listening skills.
Yes, we be talking some deep stuff though, especially you. So, just especially with the tax stuff. I had to come up with my own lingo and try to keep up with you and Dornessa. You know what I'm saying? That that be something.
Yes, indeed.
What was Taxes. She on that taxes.
Yeah, you know, because I'm trying to get my mom and them right. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'm trying to get, you know, my aunt right. People, you know, I want them to, you know, take heed to what's going on.
Right.
You know, and get these gems. They coming. You know, people need to know. You know.
But see, another thing too, Rose, that this is something that people can call their council representatives and ask those same questions. I think that people think that the government is not them, and I kind of empathize with them, because there's no other race of people that has more reason to distrust the government than black folks. But we are also the most optimistic of all of the ethnicities. So we've got to put, you know, we've got to do. We just can't talk about it. We have to be about it.
Yes, indeed.
Heard it first, man, right here on Focus Radio. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yes.
And not now, but right now.
I love it.
Real talk. Real talk. And like I said, it takes strong people to reach the people. So if you're strong, if you're a strong person, you want to reach people.
Yes.
Let's get started. And that's what we're doing right here on Focus Radio, reaching the people and connecting with people. That's what makes this so different. That's what makes this Focus.
Yes.
Yep. Tell a friend, download the free app right now. Hustle Firm Radio. Angela also Brooks is on her way in the building. U.S. State's Attorney of PG County, and also running for the County Executive Office behind Sharon Baker for 2019. 301-477-2616 is the call-in number for this Q&A tonight.
Yes, indeed.
Well, just call in, period.
Take advantage
whatever
of
question
this,
you got to ask,
you know?
call in.
Take advantage of it. You know, ain't nobody gonna bring it to you like Focus Radio.
Yeah,
you hear what I'm saying?
That's right.
So while you got her here and you got her attention, because she's a very busy woman.
Yes.
You know, she's out here in the community. We just gonna have her sitting still today.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna have her undivided attention. So take heed. Take advantage of this great opportunity. Okay?
So I want to hop into Focus Reports with Black Rose. And what did you have going on today?
Oh my God! I just have been listening to all these I need some funny stuff. Okay, I need some funny news. But no, on a serious note, you know, Gucci Mane's fiance. Okay, she has 3 children that she done left down there on the islands. Okay, yeah. And they're getting ready to get married. Like, the dirt is coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out, okay? It's just so much stuff going on, you know? So why you ain't bring them kids, girl? I want to know what's going on with them kids. Hello.
Yay.
Hello.
Haven't seen you since Wednesday.
Oh, my God. Yes.
It's an honor to be here.
Oh, my goodness. You are here.
Hey, so you got some tough questions.
Well, I know I have 1 or 2.
Okay, all right, and I know, and I can tell when I met you at that Verizon store, I can tell you got it all together.
She's here, y'all. Oh my goodness, yes.
Right here on Focus Radio, man. You heard it first with some Focus gossip.
Yeah.
Black Rose said that Gucci wife left the kids.
Left the kids.
In Jamaica.
In Jamaica. Okay, just left
Well, that's the same thing. I forgot her name on Love and Hip Hop. Was it Atlanta?
Yeah.
She
left her daughter down.
She left her daughter to date Snoop.
Yeah.
From B-More.
Yeah.
She left her family to date a woman, and then that ain't work out. And did she ever go back? She ain't even on the show no more.
No, she's not even. No, she's not on the show no more. So I guess she done went back home. Right?
No.
Wasn't nowhere else to go. Right?
I guess they. Wow. Now, if they trying to get on, why don't take the kids with them?
Right.
Everybody get on.
No, but another funny thing happened. You know, Kim Zolciak from Atlanta Housewives. Her and Nene had supposedly had mended their friendship and everything back. So Kim Zolciak's daughter goes to Nene Leakes' house, okay, and go in her bathroom, go on Snapchat, and start Snapchatting roaches in her. Yes, Yes, she did.
Now, are they still on the show?
Yeah. Well, Kim Zolciak is supposed to be coming back. The only person I think that has been removed from the show is Kenya Moore. She's been removed from the show. This is
That Eddie Lee's came up.
Yeah.
Those women get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah. I think she's one of the highest paid housewives.
Reality. Wow.
And you care about that. Why?
Because they crazy and they funny. And we need some fun.
Yeah.
We need a little fun with all this craziness going on. I'm coming with, yeah, she got him. She human.
Hey, y'all, man, I heard the first man right here on Focus Radio. Got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
Get into it. U.S. State's Attorney, black, female, U.S. State's Attorney.
Yes,
first.
First, okay? Let's put that first on there, Focus, okay? Give her props.
First African American female U.S. State's Attorney of PG County.
Yes.
Angela Brooks is in the building.
Yes.
We don't got that thing you push the button.
Yes, indeed. Oh my God, it's such a pleasure.
Well, it's an honor to be here. So thank you all so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here and be a part of the conversation tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. You are now plugged into Focus Radio.
Well, hello everybody out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know you have a busy schedule, so I definitely want to thank you for fitting us in. And it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
So who has the first question? I'm going to let the ladies go first. I'm kind of...
You can go first.
I can go first.
Yeah, go.
You first came to my, of course I've seen the billboards all over Maryland when you were running for state's attorney, but I really started paying attention to you during the Freddie Gray trial. I mean, no reflection on your character, but that's when I really started following you and paid attention to you. And I know that during that time, there were articles in the Baltimore Sun that said that many, there were a lot of cases against police officers out there, but the city would try to settle those cases and they would, mandate the folks sign a gag order. Is that still in effect out in Baltimore?
You know what? I'm not as familiar with Baltimore, but I know that they had a number of lawsuits, and their department is different than Prince George's in this way. So Prince George's County is not different. We're different in this way. We experienced what Baltimore experienced during Freddie Gray in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Right.
So we were under consent decree in Prince George's County for similar sorts of conduct. Remember, we had those dog bite cases,
Oh, yeah.
And so we had some excessive force cases that ended, that were in the 90s, and the Justice Department came in with a consent decree. And what happened in Prince George's County is as a result of that consent decree, we had a good number of older officers who retired. And so the new culture that was able to rise up in Prince George's County allowed us to police differently.
Right.
To develop a different relationship with the community. So a lot of what we're seeing in Baltimore in terms of unrest, in terms of the relationship or lack thereof with the community, the distrust between the community and police, all of these lawsuits. So this unrest, we know, over time, prayerfully, will change because it changed in Prince George's County. So right now, if you notice, we've had a good number of cases where we've had to prosecute police officers, and you haven't heard a single word. Our community has a very different relationship with the police department.
Right.
It has taken time, but we've developed a real relationship. Our police officers know the people who live in our communities. We have community police officers who are there. So what you're talking about in terms of the gag orders and everything, I'm not as familiar with in Baltimore.
Right.
But I can tell you that in Prince George's County, we went through some pain. You all probably remember it. I'm from Prince George's County. So I know what it used to look like.
Yeah.
What it used to feel like. And I don't think anybody's in denial about that. If we talk about Terrence Johnson, we remember that name, right?
Yes.
And that was when I was a child. So I was observing all of this over the years, and we had Jeffrey Gilbert, and we had, you all probably remember Prince Jones. Remember the guy who was riding in his car, was shot through the back?
Yes.
So we had had our share of pain in Prince George's County, but the thing that we have been so fortunate is that we had that consent decree that came in and required us to make some real changes, some institutional changes that we think have been helpful. So we still have had some difficulties. We've prosecuted police, but we also share a relationship with them.
Right.
Where police have said to us, we don't want bad cops on our force either.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing. Yes.
Where police officers have said, you know what? We don't want to be next to a person who doesn't have integrity either.
Exactly.
So if somebody crosses the line, you do us a favor by doing your job, because it makes it easier for police to do their jobs when people can trust them.
Exactly.
You know, the thing about Prince George's County Police, they have never, far as I'm concerned, had a bad rap, with the community. I mean, far as I'm concerned, because, they always, you come out here with that crap, you're going to get your behind whooped, and that's about it. It wasn't never about no shooting nobody, and, or any of that type of stuff. And I don't see anything, wrong with that. I think that, if it was more of that going on, it wouldn't be all of the shooting and, the shootings and stuff that's going on, police involved shootings and things,
Well, they got to respect us. This is the thing. I think.
Yes.
Nobody's beaten in Montgomery County.
Right.
They don't beat them in Anne Arundel County.
Right.
Nobody's beaten over, And so we don't have any lower expectations of how our police officers ought to interact with us. I think respect is mutual.
Yes.
Which is why the relationship is important. It's you treat a person different when you know that person.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Community police who show up at meetings and get to know community leaders mean that those leaders come to respect the police, and the police come to respect the people they work with.
Right.
So everything is about relationships. So when you say it used to be a problem. I think I'm older than you. That's what this is about.
I'm 47.
Oh my God, really? So we're
Yes.
the same generation. Oh wow, you look like a baby. I'm sorry. I thought so you're in my generation.
Yeah.
So we really have seen our share of troubles. But the thing is, and like I said, it's not that we are delusional, that things are perfect, but we have seen some improvement.
Yes. Right, yes.
We have absolutely seen some improvements. And guess what? We're going to keep working to make sure that we don't look like the rest of the country.
Right.
Exactly.
We shouldn't look like the rest of the country. With these shootings and all this kind of craziness, we shouldn't look like the rest of the country.
No.
We can't.
Yeah. What did I say?
What are some of the improvements that Prince George's County Police have made?
Well, we have, for example, there is, I know that the University of Maryland and the police department have partnered, and they have some bias training. Believe it or not, they have actually gone to the University of Maryland College Park, and they now have a whole program where they have some bias training that they are preparing to teach police officers how to interact with the public. So just like you can do that shoot, don't shoot. Have you ever heard of this? They have this training where it is by computer. And they put you in various scenarios. Yeah. And the question is, would you shoot or not shoot under these circumstances? And then they use it as a training tool. And later on, you learn that the person was unarmed. Then they use that training to say, well, what's a different way you could have handled it? And they do implicit bias training now for police officers as well, to talk about bias and where it comes from, racial bias. So this is an interesting and different tool that we didn't use before. And it talks about, the biases that we have. A young black man in a hoodie, what does that mean to you? A young black man with his pants down, does that mean he's a criminal or not? So this kind of implicit bias training, I think, is intelligent. That's one of the changes that we've made is all around training. Another thing you'll notice, there was a time, and it used to upset me so. You drive up the road and you see all these African American males sitting on the curb, right? With or worse, you see them spread out like an eagle,
yes,
all in the street.
Yes, indeed.
This gave people the impression. This developed in people the impression that, these must be criminals, right? Exactly. Maybe they weren't. But what we know is that if you go to Montgomery County, they don't spread children out on curbs and spread eagle.
Right.
And our police department, and I have a lot of respect for them, said we're going to discontinue the practice. Yeah. So you don't see that as much as you used to. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
But you don't see that. You used to see it routinely.
Yes.
Always sitting along the curb. So those are some of the changes. It's just in terms of how we treat people. There's another way to police, and that is not it.
Right.
Well, they have been definitely what I can say have been held accountable for their actions, the bad police that did those bad things, and you don't see that anymore.
No.
And that's a great thing that they're doing that bias, because a lot of cases were racially influenced, we would say, so that's a great thing. And police officers, they are human also.
They're human. They're human.
So,
but I have worked very closely over the years, and I'm going to tell you, this department, and again, it's not to say that any of us are perfect, but they do a really outstanding job. For example, in our closure rate for homicides, we have an over 80% closure rate.
Yes,
for
indeed.
homicides.
I was getting ready to say that. Yes, indeed.
Wow.
I was getting ready to say that.
So let me tell you, you can get out here and fly if you want to and commit a heinous crime.
Okay.
We're going to get you.
You want before the sun comes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
You heard a baby.
Yes.
You heard an elder. We're going to get you.
We're going to get exactly. Exactly.
And
That's a
important.
fact.
An 80% closure rate. And again, if we compare, Baltimore has a 35% closure rate. For homicide.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
What's DC's rate? Do you know?
DC's rate is less than ours as well. DC probably has, I think, a 50 or 60% closure rate, but we have an over 80% closure rate for homicide.
Yes, indeed.
And I don't want to speak in ignorance on DC. That may be wrong, but I know that we have one of the highest with the 80% closure rate, which is unbelievable.
Believable. Yes, it is.
Unbelievable how good they really are. And that's, we have 1,700 police officers, remember, patrolling 500 square miles nearly, and nearly 1 million people. DC only has, 600,000 people, and they have probably 4,000 plus police officers.
But the greatest thing is when I see you at them press conferences, when something happened, I already know they're going to get them. Okay, I mean, it's for real, and it's a done deal.
Yeah, and it ought to be. Some of this stuff we've seen, if we as a community do not stand up for children, for example, what good are we?
Right.
There's no civilized community that is not judged by how they take care of their children. Even animals take care of their young.
So what can we do to get some programs here? Because I think, we're lacking a lot of programs here. Far as because we do, have kind of a elevated infant fatality rate. With crimes against children, and I think that, we need programs, put in place, over in DC, their U.S. State's Attorney's Office, they go out into the community, and they have a very high, infant fatality rate, in wards 6, 7, and 8. There. So they have introduced some programs, where they're teaching the young people, far as how to take care of the baby. SIDS is on an all-time high. Like I said, deaths against kids is on an all-time high. So it's basically they're showing, teaching some programs. They got some programs put into place. And I think that even though we are a conservative, county, I think that we need those type of, programs, put into place. We don't have too many homeless shelters, and we have a lot of homeless people.
Well, you're gonna be happy to hear that over the last, I believe it's 4 to 6 years, we have seen the infant mortality rate in Prince George's County
drop
down dramatically.
Yes.
So the Department of Family Services really did put in place a program, because we noticed, as you stated, that we had a very high infant mortality rate, and we have done more now to have outreach to mothers who are pregnant.
Right. Yes.
The mortality rate has come down. I just saw the numbers, and it's been very recently, but we saw a significant decline in the infant mortality rate. I know it's at least 10%.
Yes.
And there's a ministry, for example, at First Baptist Church of Glen Arden. I just met with them. It's called the Hagar Ministry, and they're doing more work for teen mothers. To really reach out and wrap their arms around teen mothers to give them the education, help, and support that's needed. I also work with some folks in the government around a safe child care program, because a lot of our young parents, child care is cost prohibitive.
Holy crap. Yes, it does.
That's a big reason why I don't work, because I will keep my grandchildren, because I know
me too.
That I will do the right thing.
You will do the right thing. And and you know what? And your children are blessed, because there are some people who don't have that support.
Exactly.
Who are not blessed enough to have a mother or a family member who can help, but they still have to work.
Yes.
So what do you do if you have to work? And like I said, I I understand childcare. I have a 12. She's 12 now. But childcare is very expensive.
Yes, it
so what we
is.
did is to work with the Department of Education, and they have subsidized childcare.
Yes.
So young parents can apply, and based on a sliding scale, based on your income,
Right.
they can point you to a licensed facility, and they have subsidized childcare. So this is the kind of thing we need to counter the two things you're saying. One is not only infant mortality, but the infant death rate.
Yes.
We had a number of homicides, domestic cases.
Yes,
7
indeed.
babies last year killed alone.
Yes, indeed.
I think the Friday before you came to the rec center, I think it was 3 children. Oh,
3 babies in Clinton.
Yeah.
okay.
3
Yes.
babies in Clinton. And Nadira, Ajaya, and Ariana. They were between 6 and 9 years old.
Yeah.
3 beautiful, beautiful little babies. And the family member.
Y'all were distraught
Yeah.
when I saw y'all on that TV, and it made me sad.
Yeah.
You know what? Sad is a word, but I have to tell you the truth. I keep thinking about those mothers and the fathers. The one father said to me, 2 of the little girls were his, Nadira and Ajaya. They were from New Jersey, and they were just visiting a family member. And he said to me, and I will never forget this, he said, "Ma'am, they were all I had. I am an only child. My parents are deceased, and I can't have any more children.
Oh my
These 2 little girls
God.
were all I had." And he said that he was on the road driving from Philadelphia to New Jersey and received a call. He said he was driving a chemical truck. The mother in the case was so distraught, she didn't have the energy to give him a call, just didn't have a frame of mind. And he said somebody called him and said, "What's wrong with your kids?" And he said, "What do you mean what's wrong with my kids?" They said they're dead. He's driving a chemical truck on a road. And
Oh,
somebody
my
received that phone
God.
call. And he said, "I'm driving this truck," and somebody said, "Your kids are dead." And he said, "I don't know, this is all I had." So the pain of it cannot be quantified.
Right.
We meet people and you just would not imagine. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
What do you do under those that mother? You know, her only 2 little babies. She's expecting to send them to school the next week.
Right.
And you show up and you got to go bury them.
Yeah.
So this is something that we have to keep working as a community to address. And to your point, it is part programming. We don't have enough nonprofits in Prince George's County. I think we could do a better job of supporting them and growing them,
Right.
and making those resources available. One other great resource that we do have is the faith community. So Prince George's does not have the robust nonprofit organizations, although we have to develop them. We literally have 900 churches in Prince George's County.
Wow.
Yes.
But are they
Wow.
doing what the First Baptist is of Glenarden and the Reed Temples and those mega churches kind of thing? Are
But
they?
you know what? I think if we reach out to them, they will reach back.
Okay.
Because we have reached out to them about domestic violence. We have reached out to them regarding some juvenile justice programming, because one of the things we wanted to do is to stop routing our children directly into the juvenile justice system. So we went to churches and said, "Hey, look,
We need some help.
you have a rites of passage program. You have a men's department.
Right, yeah.
Even if this child doesn't go to your church, would you take in a child who lived in the radius of the church?"
Right.
And the churches that I met with said yes.
What do you think? Because I don't know of any parenting programs. I think a big part of the problem is babies have had babies and they've had babies, and folks just don't know how to parent.
You know, that's an excellent point.
So, are there any programs like that in the churches, or is that something that someone like myself could,
We can
write
do.
a grant and apply for, nonprofit, that kind of thing?
It's needed. I mean, I think you're right. It is needed. We need more. And so I agree with your idea that applying for grant funding and starting more of those classes would be helpful. I think, again, the Hagar ministries like that one, that work with teen mothers or young parents. We really do need a lot of this. You know what? I'm convinced that the people love their children as much as I love mine.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are some who just don't know.
No, yeah.
They just don't know.
You're right.
Know,
Yeah.
They do it.
Yeah.
I'm convinced, there are a few parents I meet who don't love their children.
Right.
They love their children, but they may not have had the example. Maybe they don't have the support. And sometimes you repeat what was done with you.
Exactly. You can't teach what you do not know.
That you don't
I
know,
want
right?
to ask, we have some new schools. Well, we have Fairmont Heights coming in. Brand new school in PG County.
Beautiful.
Want to speak on Trump wanting to cut out that great healthy food program that Michelle Obama, First Lady, put into place.
He's wicked. That
Right.
Trump
Yeah.
wicked man.
Those about Trump.
Trump
I mean, you hold a large sector as far as Prince George's County. You know, a lot of these laws that you are helping, you know, put in place, a lot of these things that you do come from, you know, power, which involves this jerk.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I think Trump is a person who has disdain for people of color. And I think he also has disdain for poor people. So I think the two segments he seems to hate. And you know what? And I don't say that lightly. I you know, the reason I say it is this: when you look at what he's done, even in healthcare, very recently, he decided with Obamacare. First of all, he's so jealous of Obama, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
Everything
He can't
Obama
talk
did,
about
it's
nothing else.
It's his chief agenda to undo
Yes.
what President Obama did. He is, you know, he really does have something very personal there. But with the Affordable Care Act, what he, the other day, part of what he's trying to do, there's $7 billion that was invested in the Affordable Care Act to make sure that insurance companies had the subsidies they need to provide care to poor people. So these were subsidies to insurance companies, and that's the thing he just worked on wiping out this last week, to make sure that if he couldn't totally dismantle the Affordable Care Act, he would just undercut it and start with poor people. So that $7 billion was a subsidy to insurance companies where they could provide care to poor people, and then that's where he went and wiped that out. And then I just don't understand, you know, again, the disdain that he has demonstrated for people of color through you know, so for example, he was very slow to condemn what happened in Charlottesville, but he, you know, but he finds a way to condemn everything else.
Right?
So
Yeah.
he's just a person who, so you know, he's just a. I've heard it said this way, that he's a psychopath. And a psychologist explained it to me this way. She said the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath is sociopaths just create alternative worlds because they can't live in the real world. So they create basically a fake world to live in. A psychopath is a person who does not see you as human.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's possible for them to do things to you that would be unthinkable because they don't even regard you as human. Psychopaths don't see, they have the inability to connect with other people, to care about other people, to empathize and feel for other people. And I think that our president, and this is based on trained psychologists who have said to me, we identify it. This is, he's a psychopath. This is who he is.
And he actually thinks what he does is right.
Well,
I think he thinks that it's okay.
He doesn't care, I think.
Yeah, he don't care.
Because remember,
He don't even think.
He's unable to feel for other people. So when you talk about wiping out programs, health and food programs in schools, of course he does. If you talk about again, making sure that so it's food programs, it's healthcare programs. You know, it's just whatever he can do. And he's appealing to a base of people who have said to them, this is what they want him to do.
Right.
And he's going about fulfilling every wicked promise he made. You know, he really is. So, you know, hurting children of immigrants. Who targets children? What kind of person?
A wicked, evil devil. Yeah.
But, you know, so that's what I think about the president is he is an unwell man. He is unfit for office. He is clearly unfit for public office. Not just because he doesn't care about people, but because he also is a person who just, you know, he just does not represent our country well.
And in your estimation, because, and I have to give big kudos to it's Corker from Tennessee. He is calling the president out. He's saying some of the same things that you're saying. He's unfit. Why is it that all of these people swore to uphold the Constitution? None of them are doing it. What is this party over, you know, it's like party over people. It's like all of them are going with that attitude that you just professed. It's that psychopaths. They just think that minority or people of color just don't exist, or they just don't care about them. What is it about that body that can't call it like it is? He is unfit. I mean, Stevie Wonder can see that he is unfit. My grandchildren who look at the news with me have said that without my prompting. What is it that they are not seeing that we are?
Well, they see everything we see, but they're trying to preserve power. Remember, all of this is about power.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate
Yes, it
question in
is.
each of these elections is who has the power.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you recognize that a person who's under your tent is unfit, the question for you is, will you cede your power? Is it enough for you to cede the power not only that he has, but that you have as a part of that legislative body? So that's the question. I think the Republican Party is protecting Trump not because they agree with him. I think privately, most people in that party are people who can say, you know, this guy is unfit. I don't even think that they all share his views. I'm still willing to give the benefit of the doubt and say that some of those people don't share his views.
Yeah.
But the question is, who has the power? Are you going to give back that power? And the answer has unfortunately been no. Because what's the alternative? If they condemn him, then they cede power. They give back power. They empower Democrats. And this whole subject of who has the power, that's what this is really about. Is
And that's why we selling, yeah.
Is if they condemn him, they give back their power too.
But if they let him go on, we're not going to have a country to defend.
That's true, and that's what we have to begin to. The question is not about Trump; it's about our country.
Yes.
Who are we as a country, and what is acceptable to all of us as Americans?
Right.
We get to decide that. Who represents us as Americans? And I think that when we start seeing ourselves more as Americans and less as Republicans and Democrats, and we are, it's like President Obama said. It's not blue states, red states. It's the United States of America. That has to become the chief issue for us. But, you know, it's been difficult because, again, these people have to give up some power. If they throw this man under the bus, they know that the power goes back to a Democrat. And many of them, you know, and some of them have honestly held disagreements with the Democratic Party. Some of them, for religious reasons, do not agree with decisions that were made.
Right.
So some of them have some of them don't agree with economic policies. So some of them have, I have to just see it this way, that some are like Trump and are bigoted. But there are some who have honestly held disagreement with the Democratic Party. They think we've gone too far.
Right.
And some of the things that we have done, they don't agree with everything that we have done. So, you know, but it's a kind of difficult dance, and he is a complete disaster. And I don't think anybody knows how to handle Trump, not even the people in his party.
Yeah.
So how are you preparing yourself to win this 2019 Prince County
Here.
seat?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? So the first thing that if you ask me that, and I give you the honest answer, I have thought about this for so long, and I have tried to prepare myself with prayer. That's the first thing that I do, is to make sure that I'm a healthy person. An unhealthy person can't lead anything.
Right.
So I have tried in every way that I could to make sure that I'm a healthy person. I am a very prayerful person. And I keep just asking God, you know what, let me see whatever it is I'm supposed to see. Make me wise in every room I go in so I can understand what I'm hearing from people. When I connect to a person and talk to them, I ask God, help me to know what it is I'm supposed to get from that exchange.
Right.
And so I've been asking God for wisdom and strength to act on the things that He's showing me. Because sometimes some of what is shown is difficult, right?
Yeah.
Some of it's difficult.
Yes, indeed.
And then I try to keep myself, you know, I exercise. I just try to keep everything in perspective. But that's it, and just work hard. You know what, and I hope my daughter sees this, and I talked to her about it because she had a conversation with me this week and said, you know what, I really don't like your job so much. She suggested to me a number of times, she said, you should probably go be a substitute teacher. She said she thought that would be a wonderful profession. Come to our school, see more of me.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, it's hard. Because I work late, I work long, she can see the stress. But I had to tell her, well, you know what, Alex? Nothing comes to you easily.
Yeah.
The lesson that you can see from me is anything in your life that is worthwhile is going to require a lot of effort.
Yes.
And I told her no matter what it was, if she decided to be a doctor and heal people and perform surgeries, some of those surgeries are going to happen overnight. You're going to have to be willing to put in some effort.
Right.
You might have to stay up all night to heal someone. And for me, and in the work that I'm doing, it's serious like that for me. So it means that maybe I have to give up some evenings, you know, maybe I have to make some sacrifices. But that's what, you know, if you're blessed, then you have the chance to do something you love.
Right.
Make some sacrifices. So how do I prepare myself? That's it. I pray, I work hard as I can. I give it everything I have. I really do. You know, I think about it, I plan it out, I try to recruit good people. John Erzin is here with me today. I want to
Yes,
thank
he's
him
been wonderful.
Yeah.
We've been communicating back and forth over the phone.
And he is amazing. Now, he left his wife tonight and his 2 small children
Wow.
to join me, and he makes sacrifices, and the whole team, they all make the same sacrifices because they love this county. We are in agreement about it.
Are you taking that same team to the county executive office when you go?
Absolutely. Look, if they can't go, I can't go. And you know what? And I try to surround myself with people who are not just smart and have a good work ethic, but have a good heart.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, Nelson Mandela said you need a strong mind and a
Good heart, yeah.
Right. You know, one doesn't work without the other. So I try to surround myself with people whose values are similar to mine.
Yes.
It's not just smart, because smart is not enough.
Right.
Smart people are a dime a dozen. That's what my father told me.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
It's a dime a dozen, but it takes something much more than that. A person with some courage, a person with some guts, you know, a person who believes in something.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, and that's the people
Oh
that you
my
want
God.
to take. And I have been blessed to find this. So you're right, every one of the folks who've been working, John Erzin included, yeah, of course. You know what a wonderful, wonderful team I've been blessed with.
Okay, now I saw you on YouTube endorsing Brian Frosch
Yes.
for state's attorney. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Brian Frosch, let me tell you, I knew that he was a good person, and I believed in the same, you know, we had a lot of the same ideology. But I have been even pleasantly surprised since he's been elected Attorney General. He has done marvelous things. The way that I came to know him is we worked on 3 pieces of legislation for domestic violence together. That's why I ended up endorsing him.
Right.
Out of all the people in that legislature, and you know, sometimes you align with people you never expected you would align with. But he's a person who I went to. I was trying to get some legislation passed. I'm sorry, I'll make this story quick. And it was to allow a judge to give 5 extra years to a person who committed an act of violence in the presence of a child. And the reason I wanted that legislation is there are a good number of small kids who were watching people stab and kill people who were committing these acts intentionally in front of young children. And we know that children are often the invisible victims of domestic violence. If you stab and kill somebody in front of a young boy, guess what? He's more than twice as likely to repeat it. So I went to Brian Frosch, and I was all up in arms about this legislation because initially he didn't support the legislation, and he was in the Senate. So I called him up and called myself. I was going to bomb him out about this. I said, how dare you?
Right.
You don't understand what I understand about these kids. I'm all up in arms. What you want to protect children. And you know what he told me? Angela, there are too many African Americans incarcerated in this country. We have the highest rate of incarceration of any industrialized nation in the world. And I just believe that any legislation that adds to that incarceration ought to be considered carefully. And I had to say, okay, I think you're right about that.
That makes a lot of sense.
But I developed respect for him because he has an honest perspective. He has integrity. And so we worked on 3 different pieces of legislation. We eventually did pass legislation to allow us to better protect these children who were watching violence. We also changed the standard for protective orders to make it easier for women who were going and getting protective orders. So we did some work in domestic violence. But since he's been elected, let me tell you, this guy has done really amazing things, including bail reform. Holder came to Maryland. And what we are talking about, and he said the bail reform system in Maryland needed to be changed.
Right.
What we're talking about is people who are arrested, have not been convicted of any crime, but are held prior to trial. These are people sometimes who, for low risk offenses, like you drive somewhere without a driver's license, I pull you over, arrest you, and say, well, I'll let you out of jail if you have $1,500. Of course you don't have $1,500,
Exactly.
Right.
Very often, that's how you ended up in that situation in the first place, right? But what we've been doing is we incarcerate, if you believe it.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that.
3 weeks, 3 months, and by the time you get out, you have lost your job.
Yes.
You really can't pay, right, for your driver's license. Not only that, you can't afford your rent or anything else.
Exactly.
So what we find is that there are, so what Brian Frosch wrote a letter and said what we were doing was unconstitutional. And he was saying it was unconstitutional in this way. There are 2 determinations that a judge must make. Whether a person is dangerous, too dangerous to be released,
Right.
whether a person's a flight risk and won't come back to trial. If those 2 things are true, then D.C., if you notice, D.C. does not have bail.
Right.
There are no bail
Right.
in D.C.
Yeah.
In D.C., if you're too dangerous, they hold you.
Yep.
So if you committed a murder in D.C., you're held, period.
Yeah.
There is no bail system in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
But what they have instead is a robust pre-trial service, which means maybe you have an ankle bracelet or something along those lines, so you can go home and go back to work.
Right.
If you are not too dangerous, or if the judge says you're not a flight risk, well, then in that case, they release you, right?
Right.
So what Brian Frost said is that the judges on the Court of Appeals, he was requesting a rule change, which now requires judges to inquire if the only reason we're holding you is because you are poor. A judge has to now consider that. If poverty is the only reason that we are holding you, he's saying it is unconstitutional to hold a person and punish them for being poor.
Yeah.
So he wrote that, and guess what? The judges voted unanimously to change that law.
Wow.
And Eric Holder came to Maryland, had done some research, and said in Maryland, African Americans pay on average 45% higher bail for the exact same crime as others. He also brought information that said in Baltimore City, you pay 5 times the amount of bail for the exact same crime in Montgomery County. So he brought all this information and said that Maryland had a lot of work to do.
Right.
Brian Frost was courageous enough as our Attorney General to put this forward, to bring and have people testify. I'm proud to say that of all of the state's attorneys in Maryland, would you believe I was the only state's attorney in Maryland to join Brian Frost to go there and testify on behalf of bail reform.
Wow.
Out of 24 jurisdictions, we did not have a single, not even one other state's attorney to stand up. I stood with Brian Frost. We got the rule change passed, and it went into law this past July. So now judges have to inquire, make that third determination, which says, if you stop because you're driving on a suspended license and you don't have $500, and like I said, of course you don't.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Right.
In that case, we have to ask if there's some other way that we can get you back to trial.
Right,
like I said, an ankle bracelet or something. So anyway, Brian Frost is a person I did endorse. And since then, he's fought the president. You saw he filed a lawsuit against President Trump.
Yes, yes.
So Brian Frost has some guts.
Yeah.
and
But 2 attorneys, the one in D.C., yeah.
Yeah, and
Attorney
Carl
General.
Racine and Brian Frost, and Brian, now he's sued the president. Brian Frost is on fire.
Yeah.
yes, he is.
I don't think they expected Brian Frost to come out swinging the way he has. He's also for immigration. He's one of the attorneys generals in the United States who stood up to that.
Yeah.
So Brian Frost is on fire. He's doing a good job, I think.
Sounds like I need to volunteer.
Yes. Yes.
So what are some of your toughest challenges?
Well, you know
as
what,
U.S.
for me,
State's attorney?
you know what, one of the toughest challenges for me, and I don't know if John and Sergeant can hear. If John can hear, he would agree with this. I don't think they can hear.
They can.
I think they can. Yeah.
Tell them to come on in.
Okay, but one of the toughest things I think for any decision maker is speed against deliberation against speed. What I mean by that is sometimes you have really tough decisions to make, and you got to make them quickly.
Yeah.
And sometimes one of the things that I am training myself to try to better do is how do you make the right decision quickly? Sometimes you need more information, and sometimes the decision can't wait. And so I think for most decision makers, that has to be one of the most difficult challenges for a decision maker. A mayor, a governor, a county executive. Sometimes you have really tough choices, and you need an answer right away.
You do it with such grace, though.
Thank you. So,
that definitely is a challenge.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Making the right decision
quickly. And sometimes the people around you say, look, lady, we need an answer
Now.
You don't
Yeah.
want to make the wrong decision. So sometimes it's weighing things, which is why it's good, again, to have smart people around you with the right heart, who you know that if you have to go to them and say, well, how do you see this?
Right.
What do you think? What is your advice to
Right.
me? That you'll surround yourself with people who will help you make the right decision. So that's something that I think is not as obvious to people. But sometimes that is for me one of the biggest challenges you face is somebody coming back and saying, we need the answer now. Which road do we take?
What do
You got to call him, Ms. Brooks.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
We got to call it.
Oh,
Good afternoon. You are now tuned in to Phocuzradio. What's your name and where you from?
My name is Lorraine Lewis, and I'm from Mr. Bill.
Miss Lewis, how you doing today?
Fine, and you?
I am fantastic. I want to thank you for tuning in. Did you have a question for U.S. State's Attorney, Ms. Also
Yes,
Brooks?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I do. My question is, fine.
I'm sorry, Lorraine. Hold on for 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Lorraine. We're sorry about that.
Okay. I have a special needs child, and maternal and child health are cutting hours for our chronically ill children. And what they're doing is taking us in these secret locations like in Weaver that's not even a hearing or inside a courtroom, and they have an administrative judge there. And in between the hearing, while one of my witnesses was testifying, the judge answered the phone twice. And I feel it was very disrespectful. You know, and I'm trying to figure out how can we as parents can stop this from happening and keep bringing us into court to cut hours for our chronically ill children, because they have never examined our children. They have never, the doctors that they have brought aboard have never seen any of the doctors, but they're constantly keep cutting our hours. And I have lost my job twice. I have dropped out of college twice, and here they're coming back to us again, trying to cut hours again for my chronically ill child. And I just had major surgery on my back. I need and I've been out, and then they said, okay, we're going to approve you. The DDA is just going to the DDA. We're going to approve you. They approve we for 3 months, and then they said, no, we're not going to approve you. So nurses were working for free. And so how are we as parents going to survive if you keep cutting our chronically ill child? How are they going to survive?
Yeah.
You know, I just need, as the state attorney, what I'm looking for is, or asking you, is to stop them from taking us to these private places for hearings, because they hire the administrative judge there on their payroll. We, as low income parents, can't afford to pay for attorneys to represent us.
Okay,
We have to go. Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Lewis, thank you so much for calling about this. This situation, I have to tell you, I'm less familiar with, because of course what we've been doing is criminal cases mostly. But it sounds like you probably have worked some through family services. Have you received some assistance through the Department of Family Services at all? Because I think they could probably help you in terms of having an advocate. It sounds like what you need is an advocate, a person to help you navigate through the system with your child. When you mentioned, for example, that hours were cut, do you mean hours in terms of having a nurse or another health aide? Okay, yeah. So what it sounds, yeah, that sounds like what you're saying. You know what? If you would like, at least I can connect you with someone in our Department of Family Services and see if they have someone who can at least help you to get more information and help navigate it. Because again, this is a situation that as a prosecutor, I haven't had a chance to deal with, but I do have a relationship with the Department of Family Services.
Okay.
And I'd be happy just to at least inquire how you can get some further assistance and have someone hear the fact that you, for example, are having medical concerns yourself, and see whether they have an advocate who can help you a little better to navigate. Would that be helpful?
Yes, that would be.
Okay, now how do I, can you tell me, how do I get in touch with you?
I can give you my phone number.
Now, do you want to do this? How do you want? Do I do it online, or is there some way? I think someone may be able to help. So if you don't want to say your number online.
My cousin Angela right beside you too.
I'm
We're gonna
right
pick up
here,
the-
and
we're
I
gonna-
can give you her phone number.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay,
yes.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay,
That
okay. You said Lorraine
Lewis.
Lewis. Okay, okay, okay. I'll get the phone number, and I will have someone call you Monday to see whether we can at least connect you with the Department of Family Services. Okay.
Right.
I still got background noise.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Lewis.
Thank you.
Miss also Brooks will definitely be in touch.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for calling. Give us a chance to try to see if we can get some help. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Miss Also Brooks, for providing that great information.
You know what? It's
That's
like
what I'm
I
talking
said,
about. That's what we do on
everybody
Focus
loves their
Radio.
job.
Mhm.
You know, that's what we do. We plug, and when we plug for real.
Yeah.
This ain't no
Yeah.
BS right here.
Yeah.
You know, what I want to speak on, I know you got to get out of here, but what I want to speak on, it's a lot of businesses coming, Prince George's County.
Yeah.
I also read somewhere that Casa Permanente were going to expand, some of their medical facilities to bring a lot of jobs
Mm-hmm.
to the county. So, do we have a lot of up and coming jobs
Oh boy,
in the
do
county?
we. Yes, we do. Oh boy, do we. So we are at a really a phenomenal place in terms of development in the county.
Mhm.
We have over the next probably 4 to 6 years about between $6
Messed
and
up.
$8 billion worth of new development coming to Prince George's County. With that, we have jobs coming as well. In fact, Prince George's County since 2011 has led the state in job growth every year. We have been we've had the highest rate of job growth in the state of Maryland in Prince George's County every year since 2011. A lot of those jobs are coming in various areas. We have, well, when you mentioned Kaiser is coming to Prince George's County, bringing the headquarters here. But we also have that regional medical facility that's breaking ground at the end of this year. Now over in Largo. And that's going to be wonderful for us as well to bring lots of jobs there. You know what? One of the areas where we have lots of jobs and people don't usually see this is we have a lot of warehouse space in Prince George's,
We do.
which means a lot of companies can come here and bring 200 jobs, 300 jobs.
Right.
I met just with a business in the last week, believe it or not, that has about 250 jobs here. And they told me they're looking to hire. They have jobs available right now. And guess what they do? They restore when the Smithsonian moves from one space to the next. They store the artwork right here in Prince George's County at their facility. And they also move. They have, for example, the Air and Space Museum is going to undergo a renovation. They call it a restoration. But in preparation for that restoration, they're going to have to move a lot of the art around. They do that work in Prince George's County.
That's a great
And
job.
they hire people here.
That will be a great
A
job.
great job. And what they're saying is we want to hire students, even in high
Mhm.
school, and begin to have internships to teach them how to do this work. These are solid jobs. Many of our children, some want to go to college, some don't. But we have to create for our children a path for even those who are not interested in college, but who can still have solid, good paying jobs and careers. There are so many who we can do that for as well. And so we want to continue to develop a workforce here, again, to make sure that they are not only college ready, but career ready. A lot of the energy companies, including companies like Pepco, WSSC, Comcast, have phenomenal internship programs for students that start in high school. They route those kids. They start out at $60,000 and $70,000, and this is without a college degree.
Wow.
Your take on that as far as kids going to college. I know you are all for it, but
I'm for people being successful and whatever that means for them. And that there are,
I like that. I like that.
I have been raised by two parents, neither of whom went to college, who did not have the opportunity to go to college. And I have to tell you, my father, a person who did not go to college, is the single smartest man I have ever met in my life. And so there is somebody who said, don't let your what is it? In other words, intelligence and education don't have anything to
Do with each other. That's
Exactly.
right. That's the
You can
truth.
be very well educated
Exactly.
and not be that intelligent.
Intelligent,
You can
exactly.
be intelligent and not be as well educated. So
Yes.
I've never been confused about those two things. You know, having said that, I believe in a solid education. I believe that for as many of us who can get educated, we ought to encourage it. But that is not to say that we judge a person who decides, for example, that college is not right for them. Because I'm understanding that nearly 60% of our kids who go to college don't finish college.
Right.
So what do we do for them? Does it mean that they can't be successful? I don't agree that it means that. I think you can still be successful. That you can provide for yourself, you can contribute to your community, you can take care of your family,
And sometimes that means that this is a person who opted not to go to college. Now, again, I believe in education, and I will fight hard to make sure that every child has an opportunity to go as high and as far as they want to. But I want to make sure that some of our kids who don't want to go to college can go as high and far as they can go too.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
with that being said, what about the vocational schools? Because it used to be a point in time. Well, I'm a product of the 50s and 60s. I'm around in Hillary Clinton's group. Okay, but there was a time where you could, take plumbing, take electrician, cosmetology, those kinds of things, and come out job ready.
Yes.
Those are like service-oriented jobs. Prince George's County used to have, I know Bladensburg used to be one, and I believe Crossland was another vocational school. What happened?
They
What
have
are you
job
prepared to
corps
do?
though.
Yeah, I think we ought to integrate the vocational education into mainstream schools.
Gotcha.
So in other
Mhm.
words, it's not necessarily like an apprentice, like, before I think we had shop class
Yes,
and that kind of
mhm.
thing. But what I think is it ought to be integrated into the regular education that we have. And we do it through those programs that we're saying. There are a good number of industries and businesses that are willing to invest in the schools to teach our kids the skills they need to be able to be qualified to go right into one of these companies.
How does the public find out about that, though?
Well, you know what? I think we ought to make it a part of the school and then give parents a reason to want their kids to go to that school because they'll know about these programs. I think we have to make sure that parents understand what the programs are. But again, we have to do our work in terms of going out and partnering.
Yeah.
So they have to be partnership with these businesses. For example, like I said, a Comcast, a Pepco, even when Amazon comes, those kind of jobs, we have to make sure technology companies, we have to make sure. So in other words, we have to change the way we look at vocational education. And so many of us live in these houses, big houses, they have big stores, and all of these things are built by people who we often don't have enough respect for.
Exactly.
What are the carpenters and the plumbers and the people who are electricians? These are smart people.
Yes.
Who build these buildings and build stores and businesses. And we don't have respect for the people who make it possible.
Because they don't have a bachelor's or master's degree.
But they're intelligent people.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so that's why I say part of what we have to do is to change our attitude
Yes.
about vocational education and say it's not because you're less than, it's because you chose to do
Right.
something and to use your skills and your gifts and talents in a different way.
Right, exactly.
And so I think that is important. And you know why it's important? Because we can't leave any child on the wayside. So we have to say to every child, you have something special in you. Let's figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And you get to decide what that is. And again, if that means that you decide to be an engineer or doctor, great. If it means you're an electrician or an entrepreneur, and you decide that the path for you is you're going to go open your own barbershop,
Right.
or you're going to open something else of your own. So entrepreneurship and making sure that we have also these other workplace skills is very important. It's going to become critically important. So we're going to make sure that we focus on having every child succeed on his or her own terms. What does that mean for them?
That's wonderful.
There's a lot of talented youth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it
A lot.
is. Yes.
I work in the property management industry. A lot of them come and get apartments. And I see the pay stubs and the jobs. I'm even myself, 24, 25. Wow. And just taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah.
That's what we are doing right here on Phocuzradio. We're putting this information out. And like Mrs. Angela Taylor said, you just got to be a great listener, and interpret it. And I definitely agree with that. That was surprising to me that you said that. That you said you just like successful people.
Exactly.
So you don't have to have a 4.0 or go to Harvard.
Right.
Like you said, you have a talent, just go for it. Step out on faith.
Step out on faith. And
Definitely.
we miss people when we don't regard it that way.
Yeah.
You're
I
right.
think there's value
You are right.
to every person.
Yeah.
Who are we to say that some person is less valuable than another based on their education?
Right. Yeah.
When did we become that? I think that there's value in every person, and it is our job, especially as those of us who lead the county and who lead children, to help them identify what it is.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
our job to identify it, to develop it, to make sure they have an opportunity to be as phenomenal as we know they are. And you're right. I meet up with these kids in schools. Our kids are brilliant. They come in brilliant.
Yeah, they
many of them
do.
don't have the opportunity to develop it because they may not be in the environment where people know how to bring it out, which is, again, that's what their village should be about.
Exactly.
I'm a part of the village.
Yes.
Maybe not their parent, but I'm in their
The
village.
village, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm a
you
part of
are.
the village.
Yes.
So it's my job to figure out for the ones whose parents and family members can't support them for some reason or another. What does the village do? What's our next move? How do we step in and make sure that child still has the opportunity to thrive? So that's what I'm about, and it's what we have traditionally been about. Y'all remember that, right?
Oh, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, when the people in the community put a few dollars aside.
Yeah.
They saw a child.
And we still have a couple of village members. Yeah. Yeah.
People in our community would say, this kid right here is talented, an artist. You know, I went last week to the African American Art Museum, and they had a festival, and they had these folks who were singing, some who were doing spoken word, and these young people were on fire, and they were talented. I would also like to see us develop an arts community in Prince George's County, to really do more to develop and bring out that community, because there's a lot of power there too.
Do we have any schools here that that focus on that?
Suitland High School. Oh my God, Suitland High School has phenomenal young artists coming out of it. And as a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked that question, because the young man who's executive director now of that African American Art Museum here in Brentwood is a young man named Malik. And he is the executive director. He graduated from Suitland High School.
Shout out to Suitland.
Yeah.
I'm Suitland too. I'm a Suitland graduate.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Rams.
They have a lot of talent at Suitland.
Yes.
A lot of talent.
Just one question from an audience member. Thank you guys for tuning in with me with Angela also Brooks, U.S. State's Attorney. So what happens at Forestville High School? They made it a military school for 2 years, and then they stopped it.
Yeah, they closed Forestville High School. I think the reason that they gave was that it wasn't populated. And you know, I'm not in the school system.
Well, actually, it wasn't. It wasn't a lot of children. It really wasn't. And a lot of the kids that went to Forestville, they were in our community, in the Landover community, Hyattsville area, and it was like basically a handful of them.
Wow. Yeah, they were saying that it was the enrollment was really low, and what they decided was that it wasn't cost efficient. That they would move those kids to another school that was also had low enrollment, combined the two, and then it had just become too costly to keep open a school that wasn't there, that didn't have. But that's what I was hearing. You know, I wasn't a part of that decision. So I don't know all of the factors that they were looking at, but I know that that's sometimes, you know, part of the challenge is if you have low enrollment, keeping that's expensive to keep open the building and do all of those things to get the enrollment or something. So that's the reason. It was a shame. For Forestville, I knew the principal at Forestville High School. He was a person who was amazing. Had done some wonderful. Dr. Nathaniel Laney did some wonderful work there. I know they had great people there, and it was very upsetting to a lot of parents and a lot of folks in the community who really did benefit from Forestville High School. My own cousin graduated from Forestville High School, went on to play for the Washington Redskins, and he played football for Forestville High School. So they had a lot of successful people graduate from that school, and I know it was very devastating. I understood that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, very devastating.
Well, Ms. Massey, you have your answer there. You know, financially, they couldn't keep Forestville High School a military school, but Forestville, a lot of history, like you said, behind Forestville High School that I can remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of pride there. I understand.
Definitely.
The community was very unhappy with that decision. Very unhappy, and we respect it.
Yeah, my daughter went to Central High School, and she was in ROTC.
Okay.
And she was high up, you know, and they had a lot of interaction with Forestville.
Okay.
So I stayed over there quite a bit, you know, and participated in their military balls and things like that, you know, getting dresses for the girls and things like that. So it was really heartbreaking for them to close that down.
Oh God, it was. People were really, I remember that they had hearings and everything.
Yeah, really upset.
Yeah, like I said again, I understand that.
Yeah.
You know, feeling like you closed a school in their neighborhood and community that a lot of people had succeeded in
Right.
that school. I understand.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
What would you need from us as the as the community?
Well, to succeed in the job, you mean?
Yeah, to help you out, to help make.
Vote.
Here, here,
Yes.
And you know what? And there's no way of understating it
Mhm.
or overstating it. You know what? A vote. It all starts with participation.
Yeah.
That's the first act of participation.
And I believe we were talking about this. We believe that a lot of people don't even know what they're voting about. You know, so we're trying to educate people on exactly what is on the ballot and what does Proposition P and B stands for, you know, and things like that, because people don't even know.
Well, more important than that, well, I mean, that is important. But more important than that, politics to me is values. And people don't realize that they are impacted by politics every single solitary day.
Yeah.
You know, when you go into the drugstore, you grab that medicine bottle. Go into the meat store, you know, I mean, the grocery store, all that stuff is regulated. Your money is regulated. You have folks, even if you did not vote, who represent you.
Yeah.
And you don't take advantage of the system. We, the people, includes all of us, but we have to activate.
That's what we were saying. You know, well, we need us some ANC commissioners out here. They have those in DC, but I think that our community, you know, we need community leaders that the community can come to, and then we can come to y'all. You know what I'm saying? It makes the job easier. You know, because you can't hear if everybody is screaming, hollering, and talking and wanting this and wanting that all at the same time.
But it is about knowledge. I think you're right that, you know what, whether people know or not, their lives are impacted.
Yes.
Exactly.
Whether they select them willingly, because they just don't know them by default.
Right.
End up with some person there, but everything about education dollars, for example, all of that's decided by the people who fight for you in Annapolis. Taxes. Whether or not your roads are paid.
Exactly.
They don't understand it.
So all of that is determined by the person you elect. Trash pickup. All of these things that people care about. When you voted for a person and they are there to do that job for you.
You have to have someone that cares.
You have to have someone who cares. You have
Yeah.
to make an educated decision about that. But you know what? Sometimes that information for people who are working and busy, it's not. I'm still convinced, and maybe I let people off the hook, that there are some people, it's not that they don't care, but their lives, you know, are so, sometimes people just trying to survive. You know what I mean? You got 2 or 3 jobs. You trying to keep everything on. You know? So for some of those people, we just try to make it easier for them to have the information. You know, I think that we have forums and we have other ways for people to kind of come out and hear, but sometimes people can't. So we just have to continue to do the best we can to get the information to people.
They have to make it important now. You know, they really have to make it important now, because it's like we're losing. You know, we're losing, and if they don't get out and get the education and, you know, and they don't want to, then they're never going to get it.
Trump is exhibit A.
Yeah, exactly. That's just like with that stupid crap, you know, about people not going, you know, going to vote. You know,
don't vote, we'll get another.
Yeah, you know, that was crazy as hell. Excuse my language, you know, for you. I mean, even with the people taking the knee now. Now, I understand that. But when you go as far, Kaepernick, I was just a little pissed off with him with telling people not to go out and vote. That was the only part. That was just so ignorant right there. Like, why in the we need you to vote? Why would you say that? Why would you influence people not to go out and vote?
And you know what, like Ferguson, you know, people were upset with that Michael Brown case in Ferguson.
Yes.
And that guy, they had just voted back into office. The process.
Yes, they did.
And whether they agree with it or not, he had just been elected.
Yeah.
A month before. They had just elected this guy. And then he made a decision, a critical decision that they disagreed with. But they had just elected that guy
right
before. So it's like you really have to be engaged, and you have to know. Now they're very disengaged. Apparently, only 6% of the African American population.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's sickening. That's sickening.
Vote
that's sickening.
In reality, or you vote by default.
And that's why we have number 45. You know what I'm saying?
And it's frustrating with 45. You know what? Women voted for him.
Yeah. Brainwashed and crazy.
Well, this is another thing too, and it's just been coming out on the news. I think the past week and a half. They had a lot of videos going viral where they had Africans playing black people, kind of stoking the fire of police violence on black people, and it's a reality. But there were a lot of videos. I remember seeing a video of a policeman, a white policeman, having sex with or raping a black girl, but it was no source for that video. It just people just started spreading it, so that kind of stoked the fires in terms of our community. I know that a lot of folks for Bernie Sanders said, Bernie's not there, Bernie or bust.
Which is ridiculous.
Yes, that was ridiculous. Just learned that Jill Stein was over there working with Putin. And yes, she was over. Yeah, she had met with Putin as well. And Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I know two of those states, Michigan and Pennsylvania, used to go to, it's usually Democratic votes. People were jigging with the votes there. It's been in North Carolina. They had dropped people from the rolls. So nobody is going to ever make me believe that this election was not stolen. Nobody. But more important,
he wouldn't even have ran if he
but more important than that, we have got to stop as a community just taking what we see on the internet and spreading it as news without vetting it, without reading, without doing some research, without talking to people.
And the people who had the most to lose voted for Trump.
Exactly.
The people who had the most to lose voted for Trump. That was
it was
sad.
crazy.
We talked about Philadelphia, Michigan, places like Ohio. That's poor people.
Yes, that's poor people.
Most to lose.
They had the most. Yes.
Exactly.
Just brainwashed and crazy. Yes.
They didn't show up. You voted them in by default. You didn't show up.
Exactly. So that's what we have.
What can I say before? And first of all, I want to thank you all for the conversation. I want to ask you all to please invite me again.
Yes.
I hopefully I haven't torn my pencil here today. So
no, come on back. Come on back.
And as a matter of fact, so when I come back the next time, what about one of those shirts?
Okay, we got you. Yes, we have you.
So next time, and then if I can ask your listeners, please do vote. And if I might respectfully ask for your support,
we got it. You got it.
Native born, and I give you my assurances that I will do my level best to.
I have every confidence
to honor the values we discussed here today, to take care of people, to invest in them, to make sure that again every person has a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
To make it our mission every day to make sure everybody can enjoy this American dream. That's for all of us.
Okay. And because I don't want to turn my live feed off, may I send an email with Lorraine Lewis's information in it?
Oh, okay. Yes. You know what? That'd be perfect. That would be perfect. And then I will give Lorraine, if you're still listening, I will give you a call or make someone on my staff Monday. We'll connect her with the Department of Family Services.
Okay, good stuff.
That's what she needs is an advocate.
Yeah.
Somewhere to help because it is hard to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, so, I understand.
But thank you all so much. And to all your listeners, thanks for having me on. Listen, let's stay optimistic. I know these are tough times.
Yeah.
This is not the first or unfortunately last time we're going to see tough days.
Yeah.
Tough times never last.
We just got to, keep on, we just got to get out there and keep doing that trench work.
That's 2019, right?
The election is June 26th of 18.
Next year.
That's right. Get it right, focus, okay?
Show up and show
out.
Yes,
that's right.
You'll be running for Prince George's County Executive.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
First female.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
We know first black female, but first female.
Prince George's County.
First female, period. Yes.
First female, period.
I like that.
And you know what?
The man couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what's most important. When I ran for state attorney, I was the first woman we ever elected to that position, and now women are running everywhere.
Yes, that we run it. Yes.
Running for state attorney.
Yes. We have programs to help you.
Now it's no big
Mhm.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Is Aisha Bray for it?
Yes,
I think, yeah.
she's running for it,
Mhm.
and now it's no big deal. Women are running for these positions, and they should, and just like the men.
Right.
Anyway, thank you all so much. God bless you.
You're so welcome. Thank
Appreciate it. I look
you.
forward to coming back.
Everybody is showing love, y'all. Like y'all say hi.